Benjamin Sesko turns down Arsenal move. Arsenal are looking at Julián Álvarez, and there's a whole lot of alleged transfer news, people. On that topic, big up you lot for tuning in. Don't forget to get the creative juices flowing and let me know your thoughts on everything we discussed. Don't forget to hit the like button and crucially subscribe and boost those YouTube algorithms. Now, if you give me a second, I'll share my screen and we'll get into the current landscape of where we find ourselves, people. Again, thank you, screen, for sharing, because I always get nervous around that. Fabrizio Romano and David Ornstein have offered their own sort of, announcements or updates on Benjamin Sesko, the 21-year-old currently playing for RB Leipzig and Slovenia as we gear into the Euros. And it would have been nice to have signed him, obviously, for 50-odd million, 21 years of age. And I do think within the next 2 years, he will be at a top club with the greatest of respect to Leipzig. Romano has said exclusive Benjamin Sesko has decided to stay at RB Leipzig and sign a new contract on improved terms. Decision made for talented striker similar to what Haaland decided back in his days at BVB. Sesko will stay at Leipzig with a new gentleman agreement for a future exit. Now, they played a blinder. They played a blinder for several reasons. His agent has played a blinder because he's leveraged the alleged interest in his client from Arsenal, from Man United, from Chelsea, and whoever to tell Leipzig, listen, you've got an appreciating stock here. If you want him to sign a new deal, give him the money. Now, they played a blinder. That's how his agent has played a blinder. And also because, clearly they believe this is the biggest step for that Sesko could make. And I do think for young players, stability isn't praised. Bearing in mind, he just joined Leipzig last summer from Salzburg. He will get that move. He is playing. And again, this season, he started it as a second fiddle striker. And now he's arguably number one or whatever. He scored 7 goals in his last 7 games. So there's been a lot of movement in his career. Of course, the Premier League, the riches, Arsenal, Manchester United, Chelsea are 3 big clubs. There's all of that stuff, but that will wait. Minutes are currency, stability is currency. So his client gets that. Obviously, the agent wins because his client's going to get more money. Leipzig have won because if it's a gentleman's agreement, in life, you want to imagine everybody, their words mean something, but in life, words mean nothing really without action. And in business, verbal agreements don't mean anything. And in a ruthless game like this, logically speaking, if I'm Leipzig, I've got an appreciating asset at 21 years of age that's been at my club for a year and everybody's been circling. Again, the striker market, as we know, it's not exactly flushed with great options or, a wealth of options that would make the business happen at Arsenal. They know they'll make a lot more than the 50-odd million. Gentleman's agreement is very different from a release clause. The release clause is in cold-hearted writing that, listen, you can leave. Gentleman's agreement, they can go back on that. And also, again, this is why I always say, we can speculate and talk about things, but at the same time, what's actually going on in the footballing world is different things. We did hear Sesko wants clarity over his future heading into the Euros, and he's been provided with that. And again, there's been no official bids from Arsenal, from Chelsea or anybody. And some of the language that gets away from Arsenal are in the pole position to sign Sesko. They're going to sign him. They're going to sign him. It appears that clubs are waiting for him to give his word before they activate his release clause. So everyone's a winner apart from Arsenal, Chelsea and Manchester United. The hunt for another striker goes on. For our case, we know we're not getting Isak, but whether it's Isak, we're not getting Alvarez, but whether it's Isak, Alvarez, Joshua Zirkzee, Brian Brobley, half of these strikers that have been linked with Arsenal, another one bites the dust, people. Romano also said in his new contract, there's a gentleman's agreement between Sesko, his agent, and Leipzig to leave the club in the summer of 2025 or 26 with different conditions compared to the 65 million euros this summer. Arsenal need a striker now. Find another way around it. Winger. But do we say, winger? But do we say, and we keep it moving? Sesko to sign a new contract at Leipzig. It's all agreed. It's all going to be completed really soon. Sesko is not going to the Premier League from what I understand. He believes that this is the best decision for his development. And at the end of the day, that's all you can do, really. Make the best decision for your development. So, yeah. David Ornstein also said, people, we reported in last week's deal sheet that Arsenal, Chelsea and Manchester United are all pursuing RB Leipzig Slovenia striker Benjamin Sesko, with the feeling among those interested parties being that Arsenal in pole position to sign the 21-year-old. Now, again, you can't look at it as he's rejected us. He's had a decision to make. Does he join Arsenal and what Mikel Arteta can do for his development and tie in with us, or does he stay where he's just been at for a year? And he's obviously picked that. So, yeah, his release clause is irrelevant. Again, we did fit well. Ornstein has said there was a belief that Arsenal had the upper hand because we could offer stability under our current manager and also Champions League football, which Chelsea and Manchester United currently can't. He did say there's a real possibility Sesko will opt to stay at Leipzig, and apparently that is more of a threat to Arsenal's hopes than him electing to move elsewhere in the Premier League. And they've done what they've done, people. So yeah, everybody's reporting the same thing. Apparently Borussia Dortmund were even looking at him, and I mean, he's 21. Once again, the move will happen in it. Now, again, I'm not a big fan of ITKs, but you know, to give you a lot of content, apologies. Top Arsenal source is stating that Julián Álvarez is wanted by the club. Man City willing to talk, but want around 70 million. For me, I think with more first team football, he'd really do well. I think he'd fit our system. But there's also the danger in that, like with Zinchenko, who plays in another position, and Gabriel Jesus, would we be getting good players that ultimately can help us? But then obviously we get to ultimately see why they're great squad players within the current Manchester City team and not necessarily the top dons. For obvious reasons, it's very easy to link us with a striker like Alvarez for, you know, and obviously playing for Manchester City because of what we've done in the previous markets. It's easy to link us with strikers. And again, I guess the real winners are the papers and indirectly us, because we've got a lot more strikers to discuss, people. You know, every week we're linked with a bunch of names, and then you know, every week you see us aggressively linked with one player in particular. A few weeks ago it was Gyökeres, and they'll probably resurface. Then it was Isak, then it was Zertsky, and obviously this week it's been Sesko. So another one bites the dust, man. The hunt for a striker goes on. But you would imagine if it's coming out now with Sesko and all of that to us mere football fans via Fabrizio Romano and Ornstein, Chelsea, Manchester United, Arsenal, they've known for a while Sesko's intentions, or if there's been an indecision, indirectly that has been a decision. Keeping up the theme with strikers, I did do a video on this, but young Chido Obi Martin apparently is in advanced talks to sign for Bayern Munich. He's rejected Arsenal's most recent scholarship offer, allegedly, and looks set to walk out of the club this summer, which would be a bitter pill to swallow, but we keep it moving, people. For extended thoughts on him, please check out the video I uploaded as well, people. So yeah, The Athletic also said, I mean, we've heard this for the last few weeks now, but nonetheless, Arsenal are prioritizing strengthening their front line and midfield, by God's grace, please, especially midfield. Left back remains under consideration, but given the number of options already within the squad, that would most likely require some sales to go through first. Arsenal also closely monitoring the goalkeeper market, as they know Aaron Ramsdale intends to leave. Ramsdale intends to leave, and I'm sure he's got to make it clear, but he's got another 3 years left on his deal. So if you don't get the move, you're going to have to be the number 2, people. Again, we are going to have to get a move on where sales are concerned. I would, you know, everybody knows I'm very passionate about finding that left-sided centre midfielder to partner Declan Rice, or if Declan Rice is going to continue to play on a consistent basis as that 8, can you get that 6 behind him, really? Whether that's a physical man, we're not going to get Onana, but Onana, or whether that's, you know, more one of the 6s you find on the continent. Not exactly, you know, we know we're not going to get Rodri, but Rodri or somebody like that. And we have also heard left back remains under consideration. What that would mean for Kirill Zinchenko potentially, I'm not too sure, but we have heard that before. So yeah, it's the same old targets, really. A striker, potentially a wide man that's flirted with us, but you know, I would say genuine positions. I would say it appears that Arsenal are intent on addressing 4 areas, which would be midfield, up front, obviously a goalie if Ramsdale leaves, apologies, and probably left back, because we keep hearing that. And I do think if there is a market opportunity, I do think we'll move for a winger. And we have seen equals a lie, but we have seen reports saying we intend to find a winger primarily to deputise and compete with Bukayo Saka. I mean, we've heard this before, but the Ornsteins of this world and The Athletic have confirmed Onana does have admirers within Arsenal, but a move for the player is not in the works this summer. So another one bites the dust there. In relation to Douglas Luiz, who has been linked with us for the last 2 to 3 years, Romano has said Juventus and Aston Villa are set to talk again about Douglas Luiz in the next days. The only way to make a deal happen is by including players to join Aston Villa, or no chance. Apparently, Samuel Ilin Jr. has been discussed as an option, as well as Weston McKennie. Fair enough. So again, it seems like they're having a free hit at that. I don't think Google Translate is going to help us, but Arsenal are still continuously linked with young João Neves, and there's rumours of a 60 million euro price being offered to Benfica, which we've also heard Man United bidded that allegedly, and it was rejected. So how far are we going to go with that, essentially, people? Moving away from that, if we just see a couple of other things here, people, as we've gone over, again, we know what's going on with Sesko. We know Juventus are interested in Luiz. Apparently, Arsenal have been linked with Marcus Edwards, who, you know, is a North Londoner, but used to play for them lot down the lane, people. Apparently, we're interested in signing the Sporting winger. I mean, he is English. He can play in a couple of roles. He is an upgrade on Reece Nelson, in my opinion, but how much of an upgrade, I'm not too sure. Apparently, we're not giving up on Joshua Zirkzee, and you'd imagine, we need to get a move on if reports are to be believed that AC Milan are moving ever closer to bringing him to the carpet. We've gone over Onana. Arsenal find alternative to Sesko and Zirkzee. Arsenal could move for Dominic Solanke. We've heard that before. We've been linked with Real Madrid's Brahim Diaz. I mean, you're going to struggle for regular football when you're competing with Rodrigo, Hendricks to come in now and doing quite well for Brazil at the moment. Vinicius Jr., Kylian Mbappe, and such is the quality of Real Madrid. I'm probably missing out stuff. So you're probably going to struggle for first team football. But football is a squad game, and for all the stars at Real Madrid, respectfully, there are times you see a Carvajal, a Nacho, a Brahim Diaz. At one point in time, he's at PSG now. Someone like Marco Asensio, they do go down in Real Madrid folklore, making the difference in difficult moments, even though they don't get regular football. Wouldn't mind Diaz. I'm sure Mikel Arteta, they must have crossed paths together at Manchester City. He's a quality player, can play across a couple of roles, and he's shown that, is something we'd love as a winger, but I'm very pessimistic on such, naturally, people. So that's that. Marcus Edwards has been linked with Arsenal. Apparently, he was looked at by us and he's on Tottenham's radar. So, yeah, reports won't go away with that. And I don't know if, having spent time in England as a young man, if he technically go down as homegrown, I'd have to do my homework. You don't know, I can't say this Feyenoord lad's name, but we've been linked with him as well as Liverpool. And considering he can play right back in midfield in a couple of roles, I mean, he is quite versatile. But Arsenal have been linked with the 23-year-old Feyenoord man, as has Liverpool, where his former gaffer is gone now, Spurs as well as us. So we'll have to allegedly Arsenal have not on your striker. That's according to Joshua Zirkzee's got the capacity. As I've said before, I think Arteta demands from a striker. I guess, he's obviously young and can or whatever for someone like money wasn't a thing. Well, Isaac was on joining us then. It's, just paraphrase. Isaac, Solanke, we've been linked with and not signed. For me, I think the most two important is up front and central midfield. The priority. But for me, I draw some draws into 3 points. We Champions League, you need a bit of individual. I think if we don't this season, over Thomas Partey for everything. Moving forward as a football. And every day know that. So news, the Sesko news, and everything else. Let me know your thoughts. Another one bites the dust. We go again, people. But it makes it even more enjoyable in this off season. And I mean, again, as great as Sesko is, as I always say, he's a great player, but you have to be prepared to not get a player. And unless it's Kylian Mbappe, Lionel Messi, teenage Wayne Rooney, and people of that ilk or close to it, then it's not that you can afford to miss out, but you can afford to miss out, keep it moving and go and find another target, people. No excuses, make things happen. And Arsenal have shown before that we can react to stuff, and that just means we're going to get linked with a bunch of other strikers. I wonder how long before we're linked with, Vlahovic from Juventus, a previous striker that Mikel Arteta wanted. But yeah, on that note, let me know your thoughts. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on everything discussed. Most importantly, stay safe, stay blessed. Peace. Now, this video is probably coming like one of those Marvel movies where after the credits, there's a little teaser at the end. Unfortunately, fortunately, but unfortunately, just as I was finished this video, I saw an article that we may have missed out. Now, in relation to Sesko, as we've discussed throughout this video that you're seeing at this point, we've gone over all of that. We know his agent has said what he said. You know, it is what it is. He's staying at Leipzig now, people. Arsenal apparently understood to be his preference and we're in the box seat, blah, blah, blah. It has not happened, people, in that regards, people. Apparently, the signing of a striker is not believed to be the be-all and end-all for Mikel Arteta and they do this summer. There's appreciation for the likes of Isaac Gyökeres. Gyökeres needs to be the top target, in my opinion, now, and wouldn't mind Osimhen and Victor Osimhen among others, but the club are not hell-bent on landing a marquee centre-forward, certainly for the eye-watering numbers involved, following Kai Havertz's impressive finish to the campaign. Additionally, Sesko was not the only target on Arsenal's radar. A new winger to bolster attacking options could be in the offing, while Arsenal are open to strengthening the central midfield with Newcastle's Bruno Guimaraes among the names of interest. So we've heard that already. We're not getting Bruno Guimaraes. Apparently, Partey's future remains up in air, which is great. The crucial bit for me, where Fofana of Monaco is concerned, I would love him. Apparently, the Gunners are also admirers of Monaco's Fofana, who is set to leave the Liga club this summer and have held initial talks with his reps. But at this stage, discussions have not gone no further than that. And I guess to a degree, it is kind of tricky with the Euros being of concern as well. So we'll have to see, people. But as I always say, and you'd see with this extended part, living, breathing proof, any news or any talking points or any interesting points, you can rest assured that I'll get the videos out for you lot. So yeah, for real now, you lot stay safe, stay blessed. Peace. Always